All right, Delilah fans, here we are going over the second episode of season 1 entitled Toldja. So make sure you go ahead and take this moment to hit the thumbs up button to show you like the video. Hit that subscribe button. Hit the bell notification icon and select all. That way you don't miss out whenever I post content to the channel. And follow me on social media. Links are in the description below. Remember, it's a personal goal for the channel to increase the number or the percentage of subscribers who actually watch the content. Almost 80% of my views come from non-subscribers. So if you are a frequent viewer of the channel, hit subscribe. Just do it, please. So we go into this episode picking up where we left off. Also, side note, I mentioned this in the series premiere video that I give both of these episodes solid 7s out of 10 just because I don't want to score it too high and I don't want to score it too low. I feel like these episodes did a decent job of easing us into this new series. So we pick up where we left off with Gary being pronounced dead. They're calling it suicide by pills. Something doesn't seem right about this. So it turns out that Diane is actually going to be staying with Delilah a little bit longer, and she goes home to tell the kids about it because remember, his mother Christine didn't show up to pick him up. So it looks like it might be a situation where Diane's going to be around for give or take 6 weeks, because of his father Nate still being in the military hospital because he's in a wheelchair. So the kids are pretty much, they aren't surprised by the development. And, they have a little back and forth about the French fries. And I just like this opening scene because this was so relatable. It's like your mom tells you to share food with your sibling, but then they goof around and take it. And then you get blamed for something you didn't do. So it's hard to tell who I feel more sorry for, Marcus or Diane. Honestly, I feel a little bit more for Diane because, you're just that little cousin who probably is a bit ignored and neglected by your older peers, cousins, because of the fact that you're taking up space, you're just a little kid, you want to play around and stuff, but they probably just want to ignore you, and you come from a bit of a little broken family. And that's one thing I liked about Delilah, which I failed to mention in the first episode, the fact that she's understanding of the fact that for a little kid, he's dealing with a lot. Again, really makes it feel relatable. So after that, Tamara calls Delilah, and it turns out she's taking the case. So it looks like their friendship is going to be placed on hold due to the fact that they're going to have to be going against each other in court. And it's really interesting to see because Delilah is like, hey, it doesn't have to be this way, but Tamara doesn't want to hear it. Because remember, it's been over 20 years. These two have never went against each other in court before. And also on top of that, Tamara has a position or an opportunity to squash this case. And if she squashes it, she will get a huge boost in her career by becoming partner. So the next morning, Diane and the kids are on their way to school, and we go over to Casey and Tamara. It looks like they have a bit of a chat before work, and Casey is portrayed by LaMonica Garrett. And look, as a person who's just been randomly binging CW shows on the Netflix platform, like Flash and Legends of Tomorrow, LaMonica plays the Monitor and Anti-Monitor during the Crisis on Infinite Earths crossover, so it was just pretty damn cool to see him in this scene. I mean, most people I know are like, oh yeah, Jill Marie Jones from Girlfriends, I want to see Tony Childs again. Nah, I just wanted to see LaMonica because it's like somebody from a superhero show is in a drama series. I like that. So, also, Jill Marie Jones, it's hard to tell if I should say this woman doesn't age or she looks better with age. I don't know. Either way, she looks hella good. So, he pretty much presents a case of, hey, you know what? Let's try to squash any kind of conflict you have with your friend Delilah. Maybe you can all talk. Maybe you both can just sit down and talk about how to separate your friendship from the work. I mean, if you've been friends for this long, why do you want to let one case come between you? Even though it's a case that, you have a lot riding on. And I like how Tamara's like, did you just pull a magical Negro moment with me? And he's like, yeah, I work as the deputy. He's like deputy mayor of Charlotte. So he does that all the time. So that was actually pretty funny. I like that line. All right. So Delilah and Leah actually have a sit down in Delilah's office. Delilah's like, okay, I'll take the case. Just sign on the dotted line. And Leah's like, I ain't trying to end up dead like that Gary. Are you sure? Like, if we win this case, how much can I get? Well, I don't know. Maybe $1 million. Millions? She put an S on it. And essentially, it's like, look, if they don't want this thing to blow up out of proportion, they'll pay, but even more importantly, they'll have to go public because the equipment they're selling is dangerous to those who are fighting for us across the sea. So yeah, it could be a lot of money. So Leah's in it for the money. Delilah's in it for justice. There's no way this can go wrong. So we go over to the school, and Maya is talking with her friend, apparently Miss Virginia, who was the owner of the violin that Maya had purchased or rented. I think it was purchased from the violin store, wants to meet with her. So Delilah is then talking with Delilah is talking to Harper saying, hey, you know what? If I end up, since I'm taking this case from Leah, it looks like my office is going to be a bit busy. Can you contact Demetria in order to hire her? So it looks like Demetria, aka Miss Barnes, who was the eager new attorney wanting to work for her hero, Delilah, is going to get the job she wanted after all. So we go over to Mace, who, remember, is Delilah's private investigator, and he's going to be doing his best to look into the murder of Gary because, Delilah isn't convinced it was suicide. It looks like there was some foul play involved. It's like, why now of all times did he die? He was going to meet up with me Sunday, and then there's these people watching his house. Something just doesn't smell right. So we got Tamar in like a bit of a board meeting, I believe, with Fred, who was the client that, apparently was selling the faulty radios. And I believe Tamara's a superior at the job. So basically, he just wants the problem to go away. He's there to tell Tamara all the details. Tamara's been working at that law firm for 12 years now. So apparently, Leah and Fred have had not necessarily affair, but as he said, drunken sex a few times. And I want this case settled quietly because I've been married for 27, long years peacefully. I don't want anything to change that. So basically, because Tamara is friends with Delilah, it might be a bit of a leeway to, hey, why don't you just talk with your friend? Let's squash this out of court and we'll be done with it. So it seems like there was a $2 million deal. It's like, look, $2 million, we can get this done. So Delilah actually gets a call from Gary's wife. Delilah calls Gary's wife in order to, look, I know you're going through a lot right now, but something doesn't seem right about your husband's death. Can we please talk? She actually goes see her brother Nate again in the hospital, and it turns out their father is there. I remember reading in a article, which was a synopsis of the series, and it was played out in this scene, but Delilah and her father do not get along that well. And also they went back to the hospital because Dion left his little cap there, so that was pretty cute. Trust me, as a kid, I remember losing my hat a few times myself. So her father isn't able to look into the coroner report on Gary's death. And, because of Nate's condition in the wheelchair and all, he wants the family to come together again, but she doesn't want it. So we go over to Maya, who's actually meeting up with Miss Virginia. And I like this moment. Oh, so the prodigy. Oh, no, I'm not. It's like, wait. Don't undersell yourself, honey. Let's see if you're a prodigy. Go ahead and play that violin. And after a few strings, apparently she did such a great job that, not to skip too far ahead, but basically she offers Maya free violin lessons. Delilah wants to look into it first because she's skeptical, but damn, I'm glad she got that gig. So turns out that Delilah got an invite to go over to Tamara's house later that night to pretty much see about settling things out of court. Casey is having a bit of a get together over at Tamara's place. I don't know if they're living together. I'm just going to say Tamara's place. And it turns out there's a single guy that's a friend of Casey named Jamal. And there was a little bit of a, chemistry, if you will, between the way he was looking at Delilah and vice versa. So we got Marcus. Remember, Marcus is Delilah's son. He's calling his dad, Gordon, about the whole situation with Don. It's like, no, his mom didn't come get him. He's going to be here for a while. Can I come stay with you for a little bit? It's like, yeah, let me talk to your mother about that. I'll get back to you. Okay. So basically, I don't know if this has been fully established yet. I think it was mentioned in the first episode. The reason Delilah and Gordon got a divorce is because Gordon, who is a college professor, actually had an affair, and according to Delilah, he cheated several times, an affair with one of his students, hence why Gordon has like this young girl at his house of age. So she's actually like, I want to meet the kids. And he's like, oh. So we go over to Tamara and Delilah. And, there's a situation because of the fact that Fred doesn't want Leah to mess up the marriage. So he's prepared to do a $2 million settlement out of court without being in the public eye. And Delilah's like, well, if you say his story is the truth and Leah is lying, then what kind of proof do you have? Emails, text messages, anything. So Tamara is just like, because I believe it was either earlier in this episode or the first episode. It's like, look, we're in a situation where you only have Leah, who's been proven to be over the years, dishonest and untrustworthy. I have one of the biggest law firms and so many big wigs with fat pockets on my side. How do you expect to win? You're my friend. I don't want to go against you in court. Leah is going to drain you dry. Let's just squash this right now. So in the midst of this back and forth, Delilah gets a phone call and it's Gary's wife saying, hey, can you come over right away? So turns out when she goes over to visit Gary's wife, it's crazy. So this is when the episode gets really good because this whole this whole death of Gary goes really wild. So apparently the day that he died from the alleged suicidal overdose was the day that his prescription came in the mail. So she actually takes Delilah to the backyard to a shed, and it turns out Gary had a little bit of a makeshift office. When he quit his job or retired or got fired, I forgot, but either way, when he was no longer working at the company, he signed an NDA, and he would have to give back any sort of files or, any kind of property, if you will, that belonged to the company. However, he had his own little office there. So it's like, what was he up to? So Gordon actually calls Delilah, and instead of saying that, hey, he can come stay with me, he says the whole Dion thing, it isn't fair to Marcus. And then she's like, well, it isn't fair for Marcus's father to be a lying cheat who left him without a father in the household. So, yeah, that was actually a pretty good scene. It just feels real. Like, it feels like these are people who are real. So Delilah goes over to Christine, who is Dion's mother's place, to talk to her about the whole Dion situation, as well as Nate. And turns out she got another man, a big dude too. I believe his name is Andre. He's a friend to both Nate and Christine. So essentially she kind of moved on because, I didn't sign up for all this. Delilah, I'm not like you. So pretty much she just walked out on her husband and son. So she's moved on. And Delilah's like, oh my God. So she actually has the evidence that Gary's wife let her use in order to use in the case. And she goes to her office, and Demetria calls, and she gets the job offer. It's about $50,000 plus health insurance. And she's like, what about 401k? Can you start tomorrow? Yes. I love how Demetria was a little bit, kind of calming herself down on the bus, and then the random old white dude beside her, kind of smiled. I thought that was a cute scene. Cause again, it's relatable. It's like, you're fresh out of college or law school or whatever. You're trying to get a job and you get to call back. It's an exciting thing. Seriously, $50K a year is nothing to sneeze at. Plus insurance too. So we get the final scene of the episode where Tamara texts Delilah, Toldja, haha. And these are photos of Leah, pretty much, would these classify as sexed? And they were sent to Fred. So when I believe Harper asked her if Delilah's okay, if she's fine, she's like, no, I'm not. And she goes through a laundry list as the reasons why she's not fine. And that's the fact that the odds are heavily stacked against her, given the fact that the one thing she had, which was Leah, aka the truth, turned out to be a lie. But I'm wondering, so Tamara sent those photos of Leah, but I'm wondering, does Leah have any texts or anything of Fred? Which could probably be why they wanted her to sign an NDA and give over her, the password, emails and stuff like that, so they can erase any kind of, evidence that could be used against them in court. So Delilah is definitely in over her head, and maybe she should have took that settlement. But I feel like we're going to dig a bit deeper as the series goes on. So let me just say, I thought this show had a pretty decent start, pretty strong start. It makes me intrigued about where the story is going to go next. That's really all I got to say about both of these episodes. Of course, I've already done my episode 1 review separate from this one. So let me know your thoughts on Delilah episode 2 in the comment section below. Since I didn't watch it live, I am unsure if there was any sort of trailer like this season on Delilah or next week on Delilah. I don't know. And until I get my hands on something like that, I'm unable to do a follow-up video. Not planning to do any theories just yet. I feel like the show is still a bit too new for that. Maybe after episode 3. Plus, this week has been pretty hectic because of the fact that, aside from the Oval and Sisters, we had this, 2-episode run of Delilah and 3 episodes of Ruthless. So I'm busy as hell. So I can't complain about that because, I got bills to pay. But thanks so much for tuning in. Let me know your thoughts. What episode did you prefer more, episode 1 or 2? Are there any standout characters that you like from the show so far? And that's all I got. So if you want to donate on PayPal or Cash App, feel free to hit me up. And with that being said, I'll catch you in the next episode.